What happens if you lie during your police hiring process, and how will it affect you? Let's discuss. Before we get started, I have two gifts in the description for you. One is the Getting Started workshop. It's going to walk you through every phase of the hiring process. Plus, there's some hidden bonuses in there. One of them being the candidate eligibility exam. See where you rank if you're a qualified individual. Next is the free coaching call with myself or any of the other new instructors we have and the other instructors we have. Anyway, there's more time slots. We have more instructors for you so you can jump on there and get your questions answered and get guidance for your hiring process. Now, speaking of that, guidance for your hiring process, let me give you the best guidance I can give you or any instructor can give you. Do not lie. Do not lie. And the main reason for this is because this will come back to bite you in one way or another. So what do I mean by this is your entire hiring process, when you become a law enforcement officer, everything you've done is public, right? It can be seen, attorneys can request it, right? They can request it, they can request it under discovery, depending on what cases are going on, everything like that. Now, that's not to scare you away from it. There's perfectly fine. If a department hires you, it says that they vetted you and they've approved you, even, with any type of hurdles you may have had. You're fine on that point from a legal standpoint of, of getting into any issue with maybe a lawyer on the defense attorney side. But the one thing you need to worry about is lying, and specifically being called what we lovingly call is giglio. And there's case law behind that. You can go out and you can read that case law behind giglio. But pretty much what it is it's a way to deter law enforcement officers. And it's not a way to deter. It will stop law enforcement officers from lying. If you do lie and you get caught, it's called being giglioed. You're never going to be able to testify ever again, right? If you can't testify, you can't become a cop. If they find out that you lied and it comes back that you're giglio, you're not only going to lose your job, you're going to lose your pension. You may face criminal charges. All this may ensue. How does this affect you during your hiring process? Well, it may prevent you from getting hired. So imagine you go in and you lie during your hiring process, and then they find out, right? A couple of ways to find out. One, you get caught during the polygraph, or you say something and slip up and they catch it. And trust me, these are great investigators. They will catch it. There's not a time that they don't, right? So you slip up, they catch it, or they piece two and two together and figure it out that you lied. You're done. They're gonna say, hey, you lied on an official government form, or you lied in an official interview, or any other type of official matter, and it's going to come back to you. And they can move to have you giglio, to move, say, hey, you've lied in an official capacity, right? Even though you're not a law enforcement officer yet, you've lied in an official capacity. Therefore, you are no longer eligible to be deemed a credible individual. Now, by extension, what does this mean? That means that no department will pick you up, right? No department's going to hire a candidate that is giglioed, because that person cannot testify. Anything they say cannot be trusted. And that could not only does it apply out on the street, you're like, I'll work investigations. I don't know, because anything you touch can't be trusted at that point in time, because you've been known to lie or misrepresent information. So it's not a win. So let's apply this to a simple scenario I see all the time. Let's say you're an individual and you've experimented with marijuana, and you're super nervous about this. You have a strong background, no real criminal issues in your past, no major speeding tickets or any moving violations, no real major substance use other than maybe some minor marijuana use. And your credit's great, everything. You, on paper, by extension, are a fantastic candidate. Well, then you're really nervous about possibly maybe using an illegal substance, right? Maybe you did it a couple of years ago. And you're just nervous about admitting to that. And then you neglect to put it on your PHS, your personal history statement, your PQS, your personal questionnaire statement, your background packet. That's pretty much what it is. You neglect to put it on there. That, first of all, that's called omission, which is a crime, right? But you neglect to put it on there, which omission is lying. It's called lying by omission. So you intentionally leave it off. Well, it's later determined that maybe you did, or maybe one of your references said that. By the way, we have ways of getting additional references that you don't provide us. Just kind of keep keep that in mind. So, so another reference, right, would be, so we get a hold of another reference and they say, oh yeah, I did, how do you know so and so? Okay, hey, outside of their character, and outside of their minor marijuana use, um, do you have anything that think would be a deterring factor? And then they say no, just just that limited marijuana use. Well, now they just confirmed that you used marijuana and you said you didn't, so there's a conflict here. So now we question you, we get it out of you that you did use marijuana in the past. At that point in time, you could be giglioed. They can say, hey, we're moving to to have this officially, let's just kind of coin it officially sanctioned, right? Where you're officially sanctioned and you're registered, under Giglio as someone who's lied on official documentation or in official capacity. Same thing could go with your polygraph. You go through your essay, say, hey, I'm seeing some issues here with your polygraph when it comes to substance use, and you say, oh, you know what? There was this one time that I was with friends and they gave me marijuana, and it was just like one time that I just even tempted. I didn't even inhale, right? And you kind of come up with this complete elaboration, which you should never do, by the way. Be specific, don't elaborate, right? You just complete elaboration of perspective, right? Stick to the facts, not perspective, that of what occurred. And then the background investigator, the polygrapher gets with the background investigator, says, hey, here's your discrepancy. This individual, stated this, and then this is what we found out. And now they're saying, well, you lied on official form. That's Giglio, right? You not only lied on the official background packet, but you lied to your investigator when they asked you about substance use. Said, no, there's no. And then you say, oh, it was an honest mistake. Unfortunately, you don't really get too many honest mistakes. Now you can make an honest mistake, but you should notify your investigator as soon as possible, specifically if it's in the background phase, where do not wait to the polygraph, right? Or do not wait to the reference check when they call you out on. Because one, if they do, you're going to be DQ'd. They're not going to give you the benefit of the doubt, because we see it all the time, right? People try to lie to become law enforcement officers, and we just don't have the time to get, you might be telling the truth, but we just don't have the time to give you the benefit of the doubt. So how does this really affect you during your hiring process? What if you're not even giglioed, right? What if you're not officially giglioed, where, they put you on a registry as someone who is untrustworthy, right? Who's lied, who's perjured themselves, whatever kind of term you want to leverage in this situation. Well, it can still deter you from being hired. And what that happens is every time you fill out a background packet, you have to list every department you've ever applied to. And trust me, I know where you're probably going with this, or some people, and maybe not you, but some people might be going with, well, maybe I just won't list that department. Well, that just reaffirms your dishonesty. And I'll get to that here in a second. But you list down every department you applied to, and you list, ABC department, and you're applying to XYZ department. They're going to contact ABC department and they're going to say, hey, we got candidate Frank applying, and what's going on? And they're going to say, oh yeah, we disqualified him due to the fact that he lied, and pushing Giglio level. He lied on official documents until we discovered this. They're not going to touch that at all, because why? Going back to the beginning of this training, those records, even your application to other departments, could be pulled in court. Right. And they're not going to want to take that risk of saying, hey, first of all, if you're willing to lie to get the job, are they going to be able to even give you a background clearance? Because, you've lied, right? It's going to be one of those things. So there's so many components about this. Let's not even get to Giglio. Let's say department contact, right? Then let's get to a background clearance. You think the background investigator is the end all be all. Well, no. He or she is just the one gathering the evidence, and they're submitting it to an official review organization that's going to grant that clearance, right? Whether that's a state, whether that's a municipality, whether that's federal, it doesn't matter, right? They're going to submit that and saying, hey, we certify this individual as, this is what we found and discovered. That's going to be reviewed, and it can be kicked back saying, no, hey, this individual is not granted a clearance, right? Because this is what you found. Well, in doing some additional digging, we found XYZ. So no, it's not as clear cut as just saying, oh, well, I'm not Giglioed, so I'm good to go. But it can have those impact. Now, is it the end all be all where you say, hey, I made a mistake once, I didn't list this? Am I completely barred from becoming a law enforcement officer? Absolutely not. I'm not here to try and scare you out of that or scare you away from applying, or if you've made a mistake, you can make a mistake and you can just own that mistake. Now, is it going to be a hurdle? Absolutely. But once again, getting to articulation, that's what's going to save you. So that would look like, hey, yeah, I was disqualified from ABC department. I didn't make it past the polygraph. Okay, well, what happened there? Oh, well, when I was taking the polygraph, I recalled an incident that I failed to state on my background packet, but I completely listed on use. It was a one-time use of marijuana that I just didn't recall at the time. If that's the truth, right? Don't lie. Just articulate as such. Hey, it was a 1 point of marijuana use that I didn't list. And then when they say, well, why? I just didn't consider it at the time, right? So whatever the truth is there is what you would state, but just articulate it clear and be specific. That department can say, okay, hey, the incident wasn't so much as, you just not realizing the hiring process and the intensity of it. We're still willing to move forward with you. And I see that, I see that all the time. I've seen that with members, but I've also seen it the other way where someone says, no, you lied to us. I'm going to make sure that I do everything I can to prevent a liar from getting into law enforcement. And they're going to move forward with Giglio or move forward with officially making an official documentation. So if anyone contacts them about you applying, they'll say, oh yeah, this individual lied to us on the form. That happens. That's why you do not lie, right? You don't have to. I've said this before. Just learn to articulate your hurdles. You never have to. A lot of people think that marijuana, is gonna get them disqualified. Yeah, if you're using marijuana up until the point that you're applying, yeah, you want to give yourself some time and distance. 6 months is the bare minimum. 1 year is better, and then anything over that just keeps getting better and better and better. Now, some departments require a year, some require 2. So when I say 6 months is the minimum, I'm just talking about an average of departments across the United States, right now. But usually 6 months is the minimum for some departments. Usually a year is considered. There are some departments that out there that just say, hey, you have to quit smoking if we hire you. I tend to find those more out west. I'm not going to state the state, but you get what I'm kind of leaning towards there. As for going back to the initial training here, yeah, lying is a surefire way to make sure you never become a cop, because they will find out. When they do find out, they're going to tell everybody. Once again, it's not the end of the world. It's just articulating. If you made an honest mistake and you're like, hey, it was stupid. I was dumb. I was young. I applied without knowing the full aspect of the department or full aspect of the hiring process. It's not the end of the line for you. It's another hurdle that we have to articulate. So just kind of keep that in mind. Do not lie. I'm telling you, do not lie. Learn to articulate your hurdles. You'll never have to lie a day in your life for any aspect, whether you're in court or anything. Just learn to. A lot of them is just taking it on the chin, and they're not nearly as bad. A law enforcement officer making a traffic stop who forgets to calibrate their radar and goes to traffic court and says, hey, did you calibrate your radar that morning? You say, you know what, Your Honor? No, honestly, I forgot to calibrate it. Well, unfortunately, Officer Magaha, based on that criteria, I'm going to have to dismiss this case. Okay, Your Honor, I apologize for wasting the court's time there. That was my mistake. I'll make sure I do better. That's it, right? You just move forward from that. Or they might say, hey, based on Officer Magaha's exceptional record, I'm willing to believe that he believed the equipment was functioning to its optimal level. Let's move forward with it. You just learn from that and you just kind of move forward. It could go either way. You don't know, but it's not a major deal other than the fact of, you kind of taking it on the chin. And that's most hurdles, but you can still make them bigger and worse if you misarticulate them. And I see that by individuals trying to give a perspective or trying to mitigate it by giving excuses, right? That's not the way to do it. That's not proper articulation, right? Just be specific, don't elaborate. If you were to get giglioed, like officially giglioed, you're done, right? I don't think you'll ever find a department that's willing to hire you. There are officers out there that have been giglioed that were just reassigned to different employment aspects of dealing with the public and things like that. But ultimately, they're usually removed. So don't get caught in that situation. Last thing you want is your department to, one, have that come back later on and them to be really ticked off with you and try to throw the book at you. Or two, you do it early and then departments don't want to touch you at all because they're like, well, why would we hire someone that we can't trust and we can't get a security clearance for? Keep this in mind. If you want additional guidance on this or any of the other aspects, then jump on the Getting Started workshop. It's going to walk you through all those phases of the hiring process. Hidden bonuses in there as well, to include that candidate eligibility exam. I'm telling you, take that, see where you rank. Additionally, the free coaching calls out there with myself or any of the other instructors. We have expanded hours now. Use it, enjoy it. It's there for you. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time.